Story of Saints. December 3rd is the feast day of Saint Francis Xavier, one of the founding members of the Jesuits, and the greatest Roman Catholic missionary of modern times. Born in 1506, Francis grew up to a noble family not knowing Jesus. At the age of 19, Francis traveled to the University of Paris to study, where he later met Saint Ignatius of Loyola as his roommate. Saint Ignatius was an incredible preacher and managed to convince the reluctant Francis to follow God. In a writing later recovered by Saint Francis, he mentioned that Ignatius repeated these words to him while they were roommates, leading to his eventual conversion. "What profit would there be for one to gain the whole world and forfeit his life?" said Ignatius. Francis, along with 5 other students, felt called to the priesthood through Ignatius, and Francis was ordained at the age of 31. After all 7 members received their priestly ordination, they went to Rome to offer their service as missionaries to the vision of the popes. This later became the 4th vow of the Jesuits, obedience to the Pope in regards to their mission, in addition to the vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. The Pope sent these 7 founding Jesuits around Italy to preach and take care of the sick, and by the year 1540, they were so influential in their evangelical works that King John III of Portugal asked the Jesuits to go to Asia to evangelize. Francis and another Jesuits was chosen for this task, and in 5 years, Francis managed to convert and baptize over 10,000 people in India. Francis then went back and forth between Malaysia and India for the next 4 years to evangelize about 20,000 poor people. At the age of 43, Francis wanted to expand his area of coverage, so he went on a ship to Japan to evangelize. Here, he realized that the people of Japan was much more cultured and sophisticated, so rather than his usual display of asceticism which attracted the Malaysian and Indians, he presented himself as a studious teacher for the mass. After converting about 2,000 more people in Japan within 3 years, Francis realized that there is still a lot of resistance to his evangelical efforts because the Japanese were looking to the Chinese as role models, and the Chinese at the time did not believe in Christianity. Francis then set out to China at the age of 46, but before he could arrive, Francis passed away on an island off the Chinese coast. By the time of his death, this great missionary of the past 500 years had managed to convert about 30,000 people across India, Malaysia, and Japan. As we celebrate the feast day of Saint Francis Xavier, let us remember that while the saint were evangelizing, he adapted his behaviors to fit in with the culture, living in poverty to relate with the Malaysians and presenting himself as a studious preacher before the Japanese. Let us learn also to adapt ourselves when professing our faith. Just because people from other cultures live their life differently than us, this does not mean that they are any less holy than us. Let us follow in the example of Saint Francis to fully embrace the differences in culture so that we can truly love one another and live a more fulfilling life.